Retrieving data. Open the SQLite database file for data operations. By initializing an instance of the SQLite database class and passing the object constructor the full path to the database file, create and execute the SQL query. This is accomplished by calling the SQLite database object's query method and passing it the query to be executed. Depending on whether or not the query was successful, the function returns true or false. In the event of failure, the error code corresponding to reason for failure can be obtained by calling the SQLite database object's last error method. The SQLite error string function converts this error code into a human readable error message. Use various methods for processing the individual records in the result set. If one of the other hand the query is successful and returns one or more records, the return value of the query method is another object. This one an instance of the SQLite result class. The object represents the result set returned by the query and exposes various methods for processing the individual records in the result set. The script uses the fetch method, which returns the next record in the result set as an array each time it is invoked. Used in a loop, this method provides a convenient way to iterate over the entire result set, one record at a time. Individual fields from the record can be accessed as array elements using either the field index or the field name. The number of records in the result set can be retrieved via the SQL result object's numRows method. Close the database connection. Once the entire result set has been processed and no further database operations are to take place, it's a good idea to close the database handle and free the memory occupied by it by destroying the SQLite database object. Retrieving records as array and object. The SQLite result object's fetch method accepts an additional modifier which controls how result set records are fetched. This modifier can be any one of the values SQLite num, modifier to return each record as a numerically indexed array, SQLite assoc modifier to return each record as an associative array, or SQLite both modifier to return each record as both a numerically indexed and an associative array, and the default option. It's also possible to return each record as an object by replacing fetch method with the fetch object method. An interesting feature of the SQLite extension is the ability to retrieve all the records from the result set at once as a nested set of arrays via the SQLite result object fetch all method. Introduction to PHP's PDO extension. MySQLi and SQLite extensions are differently named methods to do their work. As a result, switching from one database system to another essentially involves rewriting all your database code to use the new methods. That's why PHP also offers the database neutral PHP data objects PDO extension, which offers greater portability and can significantly reduce the effort involved in switching from one database system to another. Retrieving data in PDO extension. PDO works by providing a standard set of functions for common database operations such as connecting queries, result set processing and error handling, and internally translating these functions to native API calls understood by the database in use. The first step is to initialize an instance of the PDO class and pass the object constructor 3 arguments: a data source name, which is known as DSN, string indicating the type of database to connect to, as well as other database specific options, a valid database username, and the corresponding password. The DSN string varies from database to database. You can typically obtain the exact format for this string from the database documentation. If the connection attempt is unsuccessful, an exception will be raised. This exception can be caught and handled using PHP's exception handling mechanisms. Formulate an SQL query and executing it using PDO's query method. Assuming a successful connection, the next step is to formulate an SQL query and execute it using PDO's query method. The return value of this method is a result set represented by a PDO statement object. The contents of the result set can be processed using the object's fetch method, which returns the next record in the result set as an array. Individual fields from the record can be accessed as array element in a loop using either the fetch index or the field name. The PDO statement object's fetch method accepts an additional modifier which controls how result set records are fetched. Some valid values for these modifiers are PDO fetch num returns each record as a numerically indexed array. PDO fetch ASSO returns each record as an associative array keyed on the field name. PDO fetch both returns each record as both numerically indexed array and associative array. PDO fetch object returns each record as an object with properties corresponding to the field names. PDO fetch lazy returns each record as a numerically indexed array, associative array, and object.